Operation Epic Fury.
Gas prices are sitting at $4.45 a gallon. And Americans are feeling the pinch at the pump, but President Trump's refusing to play the old game of draining strategic reserves just to score political points. Instead, he's staring down Iran and putting national security first. That decision, it comes with short-term pain at the pump, but signals a much larger, long-game strategy that's taking shape across the Western Hemisphere. While critics complain about the cost today, the administration is locking in long-term American energy control that could crush prices later. You see, this is not about midterms, my friends. This is about winning the long game. Now, the stakes reach far beyond what drivers will pay this summer. You see, for years, hostile regimes used energy as a weapon against the United States. Now, the Trump administration's flipping that script by pulling Venezuelan oil into American refineries under Treasury oversight while expanding Alaska production and freeing California reserves. Democrats scream about temporary price spikes, but ignore how this approach ends foreign leverage for good. If the United States secures Western Hemisphere energy flows, it reduces reliance on unstable regions and strengthens our position against China and Iran. Every barrel integrated here weakens adversaries abroad and delivers cheaper fuel at home once the Iran situation stabilizes. And that is the real price for working families. So this push for American resource independence, it connects directly to our critical mineral supply chain as well. We have been talking about this for weeks. This breaking news on the American critical mineral supply chain. SAGA Metals, you've heard us talk about them. Their story just got a lot stronger. And less than 48 hours ago, they just released new information suggesting that their radar project may be sitting on one of the largest titanium-vanadium systems on the entire planet. Now, SAGA trades as SAGMF in the United States and SAGA in Canada. It's on your screen there. Now, to understand the scale, you got to compare the radar project to China's Panzinhua deposit. Now, that is a state-linked system that's valued in the multi-billion-dollar range. It's also responsible for over 40% of global vanadium supply. Okay? But now you have SAGA with their own to compete. So check out the in-depth interview that I did with the CEO on this topic just last weekend. And the details show how domestic projects like this support the broader energy dominance agenda. And also check out the exclusive briefing that is linked below, but it's only for Next News viewers. Now back to the breaking developments on the energy front. While oil markets react to the Iran situation, new confirmation has just arrived that prices are not the long-term story. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, he called current levels transitory and said that oil will finish below pre-conflict numbers once stability returns. National gas is already dropping, and that lines up exactly with what President Trump told Americans just this week. Let's take a look here at America Reports. Hugh Hewitt talking about the national security versus gas prices.
Yeah, nobody likes rolling up to the gas station right now and paying, as you said, the national average is 4.5. I'll be in California this weekend. It'll be 6.5 because of their crazy rules out in that deep blue state. Nobody enjoys that. But what I appreciate is the president said he's not caring about the midterms. What that means, and I think everyone understands, is he's putting the national security ahead of gas prices. He's not going to do, for example, former President Biden emptied a lot of the Strategic Oil Reserve that we could really use at times like this just to keep gas prices down for electoral reasons. The president's not going to do that. He's going to win this conflict with Iran, and he's going to win it easy or hard.
Yeah, y'all remember that? When Joe Biden emptied the Strategic Oil Reserve just to score some political points during an election time? So Hugh Hewitt says Trump is putting national security first over the gas prices, unlike Biden. Senator Mark Warner, though he's taking shots at the president regardless, he says, while Americans suffer with skyrocketing gas prices, Trump says, best I can do is a UFC fight and a new war. Well, guess what? We welcome that UFC fight. We welcome events like this on the White House grounds because it shows just how freaking badass this president really is. I think Mark Warner's just butthurt that he didn't get an invitation or he couldn't afford the ticket price. Either way, we don't really care what Mark Warner has to say We only want to see winning. And there's going to be a hell of a lot of winning when that fight unloads on the White House lawn. So Mark Warner claims that Trump's ignoring Americans hurting at the pump. Gunter Eagleman, though, laying out the real energy wins already rolling in from Venezuela and Alaska. Trump dropping more truth bombs on energy dominance. Venezuela oil flowing straight into the Gulf Coast refineries, helping crush gas prices for American families. In just 5 months, we flipped the entire geopolitics of energy. The Western Hemisphere is running the show now. Let's jump into the cabinet meeting that took place earlier today.
Home. It's an amazing transformation. Bottom line is the center of geopolitics around energy has moved from other parts of the world to the Western Hemisphere in the last 5 months. You turn Venezuela from a sanctioned adversary into a strategic ally in 45 minutes. Never happened in history before. And what's going on in Alaska? When I was there last week in Alaska, the North Slope, 80,000 barrels a day coming online at Pica. That wouldn't have happened with you. It's up by Willow on the North Slope. That's going into the Alaska pipeline. 20% increase just off that one field. So amazing work. Energy's a high-tech industry, and those guys are crushing it, and they're loving the fact that they can provide affordable, reliable, secure energy for America.
And we're working very hard in California. You know, a lot of people don't know this, but California has tremendous oil reserves. Used to be number 3 in the nation, and the radical left has just wiped it out. And we're working very hard to get that open again and get it so the people, their gasoline prices, their lack of energy is just staggering. It's staggering. And we're actually making very good progress. Even people that were against that at one point, now they're saying, wow, that'd be great. But people don't realize it was one of the, right, Chris, it was one of the top drilling states, one of the, I would say in terms of reserves, as among the top in the country. Nobody thinks of that with California. Everything was just closed down, really violently closed down. And we're opening up some of it, and we're being met with actually great spirit, because they're paying so much for gasoline that they don't have to be doing that. And they have a very incompetent group of leaders, like grossly incompetent. So I think that's going to be something. On a slightly smaller subject, while Doug was speaking, Department of Interior, he and his people have done a fantastic.
So Trump's team is turning Venezuela into an energy ally, firing up Alaska production. President Trump himself explaining exactly when gas prices will crash. This from the cabinet meeting.
People are seeing higher gas prices. Yeah, now it's come down a little bit, but it's still $4.45.
Oh, it'll come down a lot. It'll come down to where it was before. We had it when I was in Iowa. We had driving by, and we saw gas stations $1.90 a gallon, $1.85, $1.87 were the three that we saw. We had it down in some places below. Now, we can't help but California, where they charge so much tax that, you know, you lower it and they charge tax. They've got to straighten the act out in California. But we had gasoline down to a very low number. I think we'll be hitting that number shortly after that whole excursion ends.
The whole excursion in Iran, he says prices will drop sharply. Secretary Rubio now spelling out how the Venezuelan oil flow is already delivering for Americans. Gives an update on the 3-phase process that's playing out in Venezuela.
Venezuela, that process continues, that 3-phase process, of obviously stabilization, recovery, and transition. I would just say, just since January 3rd of this year, okay, and I think this number's right, and Chris or Doug can correct me on this, but I think over 10 million barrels of Venezuelan oil have been delivered to the United States since the 3rd of January. That industry is being professionalized for the first time ever. It's going to the benefit of the Venezuelan people. They are selling oil in the market at market rates. The money's going to an account in the United States, controlled and monitored by Treasury, audited by KPMG, and it's for the first time ever the money's not being stolen. It's going to the benefit of the Venezuelan people.
Over 10 million barrels from Venezuela are hitting U.S. refineries, with the economy, with the money staying clean. Supporters on social media weighing in on where this is headed. Punisher Media presents The Oil Wars Decline. Gas prices crash as the deal maker strikes. Just now, oil below 90. Gas will follow. Deal with Iran. President Trump, you got to love these comic graphics that their people are putting up these days. The dealmaker-in-chief makes progress in Iran. The experts are about to have a rude awakening. Oh yes, they certainly will. So clearly a viewer is tagging Eric Darty with thoughts on the president's moves. Another Trump voter just said it plain, let him cook. I voted for Trump and therefore I will trust his decisions. Let him cook. The 4th of July will be a special one this year. Crude oil futures 77.32, May 27th, 8:36 a.m. Eastern Time. So Americans are choosing to trust Trump's calls on Iran. Despite the pump prices, oil dropping below 90 a barrel with gas set to follow one. We have this here. Oil prices declining again, below 90 a barrel while the dealmaker-in-chief makes progress. Gas will go down with it. The experts are going to have a rude awakening soon. Crude oil 88.81. So oil sliding under 90 as the dealmaker president works Iran. Treasury Secretary Bessent confirming the prices are transitory and heading even lower.
Entering the second half of our 250th anniversary year with renewed optimism and momentum. It has never been a better time to be an American, and as you said earlier, we have a record number of Americans working. The economy that you are building is not only strong, but secure and resilient and better positioned to compete globally. Real GDP has risen 2.7% over the past 4 quarters, something that many economists said couldn't be done. In the first quarter of 2026, despite the Iran conflict, GDP grew at a 2% annual rate. The Atlanta Fed GDP now is predicting 4.3% for this quarter. In terms of prices, I believe the prices are transitory. Oil will be lower than pre-conflict levels when this ends. Natural gas is already down, as you mentioned. Drug and pharmaceutical prices, they are plummeting, and rent is down. We are more resilient to energy price fluctuations due to your energy dominance agenda, to regulatory efforts, and we have never sold so much energy to the rest of the world. Business investment rose at a 10.4% annual rate in the first quarter. Capital expenditures and business equipment rose more than 17%, and that is as a result of the tax bill and tariffs.
Amazing. That is one heck of a report from the Treasury Secretary Bessent. So the real story is that Trump energy dominance is no longer just a slogan. It's turning Venezuela from a sanctioned adversary into a monitored supplier feeding Gulf Coast refineries while Alaska output jumps and California faces pressure to produce again. Combined with the Iran operation, this creates one connected system that isolates enemies and floods markets with Western Hemisphere supply. When the excursion ends, gas prices are expected to fall hard and stay lower because the leverage has shifted to American hands. And this is how America wins. By controlling energy flows across our hemisphere instead of begging unstable regimes, we protect our economy and our security at the very same time. So share this report with every driver that you know. And drop a comment below with your answer to this very simple question. Do you believe the Trump energy strategy will deliver lasting lower prices for American families? Yes or no? And make sure you join the thousands of patriots who are already receiving the secret insider text messages from me. Why? Because they've already texted raw feed to 844-840-4963. They're getting direct updates that bypass the algorithm. Check out the Next News merch shelf below this video. The days of foreign nations holding us hostage at the pump, they're ending right now under this president. So stay strong, America.
The system controls information. Information control is power.
They don't want you to see this.
The truth only survives together. They don't want this. Share this now.